Thank you very much. Welcome to KBA. Welcome to KBA. Can I just say as well a warm welcome to members of the press that as His Grace the Duke of Buccleuch. So they're all with us, sign that it's an important event, that we've got so many fantastic people here. So we've got some questions that students have prepared to be asked, so I hope you guys are ready for those. Absolutely. So Mrs. Shaw's going to go to the mic. So our first question is going to come from Fallon, who is a Year 7 student. So Fallon, just let us know where you are. So Fallon, Mrs. Shaw, we'll give you the microphone. Here's your question. This one, I think, is for Keir.
The age at which you can vote in this country is 18. Do you think that should change?
Yes, I do. Can I just say before I answer it, look, it's really fantastic to have such a warm welcome and to see you all here and to see you up there as well. And well done for winning that award. It's really brilliant. On your question, at the moment, as you know, you've got to be 18 to vote. So the election is a week on Thursday. So the only people who can vote are those aged 18 or over. We think that it should be 16 and 17-year-olds as well. Because, of course, as you will know, some people will stay at school, other people will leave school at 16, 17. They will go to work, so they can go out to work. They can actually join the armed services at the age of 16 and 17. And, of course, they can pay tax. And I think that if you pay tax, you should be allowed to say what you think your tax should be spent on. So we say votes for 16 and 17-year-olds. What do you think, by the way, guys? Have you got a view?
I say about 16 and 17 as well.
Good. 16 and 17 it is then. Thank you very much.
Well done, Fallon.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Keir. Thank you, Fallon. Our next question is going to be coming from Susanna, who's in Year 8. So, Keir, I think you've got a child, is it Year 8 or Year 9? One of your children, I think, is about
Yeah,
8.
I've got one in Year 8, and my boy has just finished his GCSEs.
Okay.
So he's relaxing after 21 exams. Some of you will have probably been doing the same thing. But
okay, so our next question is from Susanna in Year 8. So, Susanna, whereabouts are you? Can you just raise your hand, Mrs. Shaw? Susanna's over here. So, Susanna has a question. And, Keir, if I can ask, if you decide who you think's the most appropriate person to ask.
What does the Labour Party have to offer to the people of Kettering?
Oh, well, Rosie, this is absolutely set up for you. Let me pass you the mic.
Well, thank you, Susanna. Much like many of you in this room, I was born and raised in Kettering. Myself, I grew up in Geddington. Change. I've seen the high street look very different to how I remember growing up. I've seen the hospital feel different, and you might have heard your parents mention the roads as well, and the state of the roads is change, because I believe things can be better. In Kettering, it's going to be but we have that chance to vote for change this time round and to build a better future for all.
Most important thing.
I'm not quite sure.
But it is, this is a change election. This is an election where we've had now 14 years, so most of your lives under a Conservative government, and we get the chance a week on Thursday to decide, do we want to carry on, which in my view hasn't been very good, or do we want to turn a page and restart to rebuild change that's on offer a week on Thursday? Thank you very much.
Okay, can I ask you a follow-up from that? Because I was talking to some students earlier, and one of the things they've been concerned about with their family, dentist appointments in this area. So is that something that a Labour government would address?
Yes, it is. And problem. We don't have enough NHS dentists, and in some places we have a desert, if you like, where it's simply impossible to access a dentist. So one of the plans that we've put forwards, that we are putting out again today, is 700,000 emergency appointments, particularly 100,000 for children, really, really important, and incentivising dentists to do NHS dentistry in areas where they don't have an NHS dentist, because it's a massive problem. It's a huge failure, and I was genuinely shocked a few months ago when I was at a children's hospital to learn that the most common reason children between 6 and 10 are going into children's hospitals for operations is to have their teeth taken out because they're rotting. I was really, really shocked by it. I'm sure that's not the case in this school, but I was really shocked by that. So this is a really, really serious plan that we're putting forward to address that.
Fantastic. I'm looking for Yusuf in year 9. Now, Keir, this is a question for you as an Arsenal season ticket holder.
Ah, very good.
Okay, so Yusuf, your question.
Yusuf, who do you support?
United.
Oh, right, okay.
You are known as a big football fan. Who will win the Premier League next year?
Who will win the Premier League next year? Look, I am totally biased. I'm an Arsenal fan all my life. I'm a season ticket holder at Arsenal, and I'm going to say it's going to be Arsenal. That would not. I get some support, but not that much support in the room. But you know, it's my team, and we did really well this year. Are you watching the Euros? Enjoying it? How well do you think we'll do in England? Come on.
The sigh says it all from Yusuf.
Build it up.
Yeah. Keir, just out of interest, on your website, you describe yourself, I think, as a box-to-box midfield general.
I've taken so much grief for that from the guys that I actually play football with.
Who is, in your opinion, the greatest ever midfielder to play for your team, Arsenal?
Oh, Dennis Bergkamp, I'd say, the greatest midfielder, and the greatest up front, Thierry Henry. But that description of myself as a box-to-box midfielder, I do still play football, if you can believe it. But everybody I actually play football with texts me afterwards and says, yeah, maybe 20 years ago, mate, but not so much now. So I'm going to have to take that down, I think.
Okay, fantastic. Now, Bridget, we've got a question for you now from Aldrin in year 10. So Aldrin is behind you here, so Mrs. Shaw's just going to come over with a mic.
If I had a choice between being an apprentice or going to university, what would you do?
I think that's a great question, and it's very much about, I think, all young people finding what's right for them in terms of making sure they find the right path. I think it's really important that we get more apprenticeships. There aren't enough of them. But also, I don't think it's a choice necessarily about one or the other, because also there are degree-level apprenticeships now. And also, I was at one business just earlier this week where I met an apprentice who was just completing his apprenticeship and who was then going to go on to study at university. So I think what I want to make sure happens under a Labour government is that all of you get the chance to have a range of different opportunities and you can find the route that's best for you. I went to university because that was the approach I wanted to take, because I wanted to study history. I thought that was a really interesting subject to study and I loved learning, and I think there is really something special about just finding what you're good at and sticking at it.
I think they're both brilliant. I think I actually went to university. I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. But apprenticeships, particularly some of the ones these days, are really fantastic as well. Great learning opportunities. As Bridget says, you can actually combine the two, but I think it's just working out in your own mind what's best for you. Have you got any idea yet which of those you might want to do, or are you just beginning to think about it? Right. Do you have any idea what you might want to do? Mechanical engineering. Well, again, you can do both because there are brilliant apprenticeships in mechanical engineering which can be linked to a university. Some of the engineering I've seen around the country have amazing apprentices working on that. But it's a really great thing. Thank you very much.
Going now to one of our amazing primary students. So Mohammed is in year 5. So Mohammed, just let Mrs. Shaw know about whereabouts you are. She'll bring the microphone over. And again, this is a question. I think here we'll have this one to you, but we might be able to expand it out to the other guests.
What was your favourite subject at school and why?
My favourite subject at school was actually music. I went to a music school on a Saturday as well as going to school, and I loved music. And at one point, I thought I might career or try to do it as a career, but in the end I decided I wasn't good enough. So that was my favourite because it was sort of outside of maths and physics and all the other things, and I really, really loved it. What's your favourite subject so far?
English.
English, is it? What do you like about English?
You get to show off your skills and write and show your skills. And
fantastic. And it's obviously you really love it, yeah? Great, thank you very much.
Okay, can I just ask a follow-up to that then? So last week it was Thank a Teacher Day. So if you could go back in time and thank one of your teachers from when you were at secondary school, who would that be and why?
There was a a teacher I had called Aubrey's Grace, who taught Latin, which actually wasn't my favourite subject by a very long shot. But he was just one of these people that brought out the best in you and gave us experience of things like going to the theatre, doing other things, sort of outside of the normal, subjects that were taught in school. So for me, he made a real difference. And for you, you will all have teachers here that you think, that's made a real difference to my life, and that's why it's really important that we do thank our teachers. It's not just a sort of thing that we should do once in a while, because good teachers make such a difference to you, your chances, and your future. So it is really, really good that you've got good teachers here. And good teachers create good schools, and this school won the award that you got just the other week, which is a fantastic tribute to all of you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're now going to go to one of our fantastic media studies students in Year 12, who is Izzy. So, Izzy, whereabouts are you? Izzy, your question, please.
I'm currently studying media studies. There are lots of journalists here today. Do you recommend journalism as a career?
Perhaps we should pass the mic over this way.
I could pass the mic over. But, Izzy, what is really important, sure they won't mind, is if you want to go over and talk to some of the journalists, we've got to do a bit of work with the journalists in a minute, but they won't be rushing off. So I can see some nodding. If you want to go and talk to them, I do think it's a good thing to do, by the way. I think it's really interesting. It's important in all ranges. I mean, for us, it's about politics, but journalism could be about sport or art or creatives. You name it, journalism covers pretty well every subject. It is really important in politics and democracy because what the journalists do here is ask us questions and hold us to account and check whether what we're saying holds water, whether there's further that we need to say, etc. And that is a really important part of the process. But I do think, and take time and go and talk to them about it, because they will have all been your age at once upon a time thinking about, shall I go into media, into journalism, and maybe talk to them about what made them do it, what it was like, what they might recommend for you. I think it's a great thing to do. Have you decided that is what you want to do, or are you just thinking, I might want to do that?
It's a possibility at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a really good one. But you won't get an opportunity like this very often, I don't think. And anybody else who's maybe thinking of journalism or media, just go and have a quick chat afterwards.
Fantastic. Thank you very much again. So we're now going to go again to one of our brilliant primary school students. So Bo is standing to attention down at the front. I can see him already. So Bo, this is your question. I think here this is one's for you, and then we've got a couple of others. We might be able to share the other ones out in a second.
Yep,
but I know Bo wanted to ask this one specifically for you.
We've got a school dog called Hector. Do you have any pets at home?
We do have a pet at home. We have a cat called Jojo. And Jojo is probably the most loved person in our family, I have to say. Gets lots of attention, never does anything wrong in the eyes of the children. But my daughter, who's 13 and a half, is on a campaign to get a dog. And so this has been a long-running campaign. But you've got a school dog here, have you? All right, lives in the school?
No, he actually lives with me.
All right,
so
okay.
He's my dog. He's a little Cocker Spaniel called Hector, and he comes in on Wednesdays. He does home visits, and he brings students into school who might struggle otherwise to come into school.
Oh, fantastic.
And he sits out at break times and lunchtime so students can come out and meet him and have a cuddle.
And do you like Hector?
Yeah.
You do? Very good. And thank you for giving me your question. It's brilliant.
Can I ask a follow-up on that as well, Keir? Because when you received your knighthood in 2014, one of the things that I read was that your family went to Buckingham Palace and they took a...
Yeah, this is I'll just briefly tell you this. You'll find this funny, children. So I was awarded a knighthood for work I did in criminal justice because I used to be the chief prosecutor. And that means that I went to Buckingham Palace to get my knighthood. And I invited my mum and dad to come. And my mum wasn't very well back then, so they had to drive. They lived down in Surrey, so they drove up to Buckingham Palace in their old Volvo and arrived at the gates saying, we need to drive in because Keir's getting knighted and you need to let us in. And then the security looked at the car, and they had a Great Dane, a massive dog, which I just assumed they would leave at home for the day. But because they loved their dog so much, they didn't want the dog to miss out on the occasion of me being knighted at Buckingham Palace. So as soon as the security guards started looking at the car, the dog started barking. Now, Great Danes are big dogs. Have you seen them? Massive dogs. When they bark, it's like the whole car's like rocking with this dog. and the security were very, very nervous about letting it in, particularly because they weren't sure whether the Queen's corgis were going to be out that day, but eventually they got in. But this is very much my mum and dad, which is this, the dog is the most important thing, and if they're going to Buckingham Palace, then the dog is coming with them. And in the end, the dog got in to Buckingham Palace.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so our penultimate question, we've got a year 12 politics student, Amelia, so I'm not sure where Amelia, oh, she's over that way as well. So Amelia, your question, and I think we'll share this one, yeah, absolutely. It's a good question for all of you, actually.
So I'm a year 12 law student. What would you say to a student here who would want to have a career in politics? So, like, what would you recommend they study?
Rosie, hopefully about to embark on a career in politics.
Well, yes, hopefully I am. But I have to say, when I was your age, it probably wasn't in my line of sight. See, I studied like creative subjects, and I worked in the fashion industry. So talking about apprenticeships, I had a very vocational career, so I know the value that working in industry has as well. But my advice to you, as someone who might think about getting into politics, is definitely do it. Not only because it's actually great for your social life, but because you see parts of the world, you meet people for me it's Kettering that you would never have normally spoken to, and there are so many different avenues that you can go down if you're looking for a career in politics as well. There's so many different sides of it that you can see, but I think it would be an absolutely fantastic career. And the other thing is, I think that we need more young women in politics, so yeah, definitely give it a go.
Very good, thank you, Rosie. Bridget.
Yeah, thanks very much. I think absolutely have a think about that. What I did before I came into politics was I managed a women's refuge for women and children who experienced domestic violence. So I was also really passionate about women's issues in terms of making sure everyone in our community feels safe. But for me, what politics was about and is about now is how we serve our community and how we serve our country. And regardless of your political viewpoint, regardless of which party you might support, I think that is what politics is about, how all of us working together can try to make our country a better place. And and finding something you enjoy, I think before that is probably the most important thing, and just sticking at it and working hard while you're here at school.
I think that's really important, and bear in mind, in politics, there's a lot of toing and froing between political parties, etc., particularly during an election. But in my experience, almost everybody that goes into politics, whichever political party they're in, genuinely goes in to try and make a difference. Now, we disagree with the Tories, we disagree with other political parties, but I would say across the board, pretty well everybody does go in it with the intention of trying to change things for the better. You need to think about what level you might want to go in. Do you want to be a local councillor, a mayor, a member of parliament, or just work in politics? There are lots of different ways to do it, and I wouldn't get too fixated on a particular route. I didn't think I was going to go into politics till very late in life. I'd been a lawyer all my life. So Rosie did other things. So it's not a decision that needs to be taken now that is going to be defining for the rest of your life. It could be if you wanted to do it straight away, but you could easily park it and come back to it, or just maybe work in parliament or some environment and see what it's like. But I would just hold to that idea. Actually, by and large, pretty well everybody goes into it for the right reasons, which is to try and serve their communities and to make things better for the people that they represent. And that is a good thing that we sometimes lose sight of in the middle of a general election campaign.
And Keir, you were first elected, I think, in 2015.
2015.
So I'm going to give you an age away here, because you were 52 at the time.
I was, so you can work it out.
So do you think that Parliament needs more young MPs like this young lady here?
Oh, definitely. We need younger MPs, more diverse MPs. I think MPs who have done other things as well. Some of our MPs came in straight into politics. Others did other things. You need a real mix of different people. And the reason you need a real mix is because it's supposed to represent all of our communities, represent our country. We are a real mix. And that's why it should be more diverse than it is now. There's been a battle over many years to get more women in, for example. That's been quite a successful battle on our side in the Labour Party now, so I'm really pleased that over half of our MPs are women. It wasn't like that not so long ago. You'd be quite surprised how recently that has changed, and diversity, of course, is really important. So yeah, more young people, more diverse people, people of different backgrounds coming in is really good for Parliament.
Thank you very much. And
the other thing I'd maybe add to that is I've been knocking doors in Kettering. Maybe I've knocked on your door, you never know, and speaking to people about, what I'm offering at this next election. And so many people have said to me how excited they are at the thought that someone who is 26 years old could represent this community, because, lots of you in this room have probably lived almost your entire life under the Conservatives. I've lived my whole adulthood under the Conservatives, and I think that gives us a really unique point of view in Parliament, and a point of view that's needed.
Just one last thing on this, because I think it's the last thing I'll say, but it is important. Whether it's politics, whether it's media, whether it's mechanical engineering, or whatever it is that you might be thinking, do not have in your head the thought ever that this isn't for me. Because a lot of children and young people do have that. They've got a sense of what they want to do, but they think that's for other people, it's not really for me. Get that one out of your head, because that's probably the biggest inhibitor. If it's what you want to do and you've got the talent, you can do it. So just that little thought, if any of you have got it in your head, get it out of your head. Yes, it is for you.
Yeah, and that's something we always say to our students here, that they can go on to be absolutely anything that they want to be. So that's a really, really important message. So last question from a student. So, and we've kept this one till last. So Jacob's over that way. So Jacob, your question for Keir.
I've heard that recently you went to the Taylor Swift concert. Did you enjoy it, since this comes back to the idea that you liked music when you were in school?
Yeah, well, I went to the Taylor Swift concert on Friday at Wembley. It was fantastic, and I went with my wife and my children, and I learned something there. I learned that my 13-and-a-half-year-old daughter knows every single word of every single song of every single album of Taylor Swift, and she sung them all throughout the entire 3 hours that we were there. It was really fantastic. I have to say, it was a great concert. And if you get the chance to either go or watch it on the television, it's really worth doing. It was fantastic. Thank you for your question. And my favourite song is Change.
Any chance? No, okay. So we're going to wrap things up now, I think. But can we just ask, if you're successful next Thursday, will you come back and see us at KBA in the future?
Yes, we will, hopefully with your new Member of Parliament.
Okay, fantastic. So, guys, can we have a massive round of applause for Keir Starmer, for Bridget and for Rosie? Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. John, am I handing back to you now or to somebody else? So, guys, thank you very, very much.